Hey guys, welcome to Zara Zoo. I'm Zara and thanks so much for stopping by. So in this video we'll be talking about Crested Gecko Enclosures, and we're going to be talking about different tank setup as well as bin setup for your Crested Gecko. And we're going to be covering the different ages and weights of these Crested Geckos and what's recommended. So let's start off with hatchling Crested Geckos. So hatchling Crested Geckos are between 1.5 to 2 grams and they're up to 12 weeks old. So the recommended size enclosure for this Crested Gecko would be an 8x8x12 tank or a large critter keeper. So let's check this one out. So this is an example of a suitable enclosure or setup for a hatchling Crested Gecko. And I really like the setup because I think it's not too simple, but it gives your Crested Gecko enough coverage, enough support. It's not too tall, so like if it fell down, it wouldn't get hurt. And it keeps everything very easily accessible to the Crested Gecko, so let's dive in. So like I said before, this is the large critter keeper, and I think it's really important to have lots of coverage for your Crested Gecko. You don't want to be stressed out and feel very exposed, so I've added lots of different types of plants. Got this piece of wood from a reptile expo, I believe, but because hatchling Crested Geckos are so small, I was worried that the Crested Gecko could maybe like squeeze its body in here, maybe get stuck, I don't know. So I decided to put moss in it just to make sure that nothing could get stuck in here. And also it's a nice texture. It's also a really nice texture for when they start to shed. It's great to like rub off against, so that's really awesome. And then over here I have the small feeding cups, and having it on the floor of the enclosure or little setup keeps it really accessible to the Crested Gecko, as well as I add this cool like little mossy tree branch thing. And I had to snap it a bit because it was super big, but it fits now. So I have paper towel at the bottom, and this is just to help keep the bottom clean as well as keep the humidity up. And not only that, but it also is a great way to see if your Crested Gecko is pooping and just to make sure it's eating. So this is the example of a little hatchling enclosure. So because I do have my AC on, it would make the room a bit colder than I would like. So it's always important to have a thermometer and hydrometer just to keep an eye on the temperature of your enclosure. Oh, my friend Alyssa, who is a reptile breeder from Alyssa's Geckos, she's going to be sharing some pictures with me, and I'm going to be showing you guys what she puts her hatchlings, juveniles, subadults, and adult Crested Geckos in. So once you have a hatching Crested Gecko, once it's become a bit bigger, we'll be calling it a juvenile Crested Gecko. So juvenile Crested Geckos are around 5 grams, and they are usually 12 to 18 weeks old. So the recommended size enclosure for a juvenile Crested Gecko is 12 by 12 by 18, or you could do a 10-gallon tank, which is standing vertically, or even a really nice bin setup. So let's check those out. So here's an example of a juvenile Crested Gecko bin setup. It's a bit bigger than the hatchling. There's more spaces to climb, it's a bit taller, and there's more decoration and climbing materials. So this is just a bit of a bin comparison between the small bin and a medium bin. The only difference is going to be the size and age of your Crested Gecko and how well you think they will adjust in the different size bins. I also have a 12 by 12 by 18 tank right over here, so we're going to check it out. So here we have my 12 by 12 by 18 Exoterra, and this is recommended for a juvenile Crested Gecko, which is around 5 grams. So over here we have my Crested Gecko named Pumpkin, and I find that she's really a big fan of the coconut and was able to attach the coconut to the mesh screen by using this like bracelet string. It's really nice because it's really thin and it's able to like go between these holes in the mesh, so you can attach different things to the top of your lid. So some things I have in Pumpkin's enclosure are different textured hanging leaves. I have her food ledge at the very back. It's magnetic. I also have this magnetic hide. It's also has 2 entries. So like one over here, there's like a hole like back here. And then I have this piece of cork, and I decided to, again, because it has a hole back there, to stuff it with some moss, just because I'm always worried about Crested Geckos like getting stuck. So that's covered with moss. So I got this flower from the Dollar Tree. I think it's really nice to have like a pop of color in an enclosure. I think it's really pretty. And then down here I also have another little bowl of food, just because I want to make sure it's accessible. I have seen Pumpkin eat from both of them. I just want to make sure that she's able to find her food. And then I have my thermometer and hydrometer over here just to make sure everything's good. So this is my juvenile Crested Gecko enclosure. So once your Crested Gecko gets bigger and is between 20 to 35 grams, it is now a subadult. So you could keep your subadult in a 12 by 12 by 18, or you can be putting it into a tank that it can grow into. You can put it into an 18 by 18 by 24 Exoterra that it can grow into, or a 20-gallon tank that stands vertical. So once your subadult gecko gets bigger, it'll now be an adult. And the adults kind of vary in different weights because the females are always a bit more heavier than the males. So a male adult Crested Gecko can range between 50 grams and a female can be between 40 to 60 grams. And they are around 18 to 24 months of age. So, like I mentioned before, you could put your adult Crested Gecko in an 18 by 18 by 24 enclosure, 20 gallons vertical, or a really nice bin setup. So let's check those out. So here's an example of what you'd put your subadult or adult Crested Gecko in. Again, you would want to fill it up a bit more because it is a bigger setup. And so here we have some different types of bamboo going from one side to the other side. The feeding ledge can be brought up if you have like a feeding ledge with the suction cup. If not, you can always try to make one yourself or find one online. And there's lots more space. You'd want to make sure it feels more fill and not so exposed for your Crested Gecko. This is my 18 by 18 by 24 Exoterra, and I currently don't have anyone in here right now. But if I did, I would definitely put in some paper towel substrate. I would also be hanging out my coconut up over here. This used to house my Crested Gecko Clementine. She sadly passed away from unknown reasons. But this is the tank that she lived in. But I have a couple things in here that are new. So we have this plant, this hanging plant from Pangea. It is quite large. I secured it with some of that see-through string just because it was quite heavy on the glass and kind of was like slipping down. And then we have another plant here from Pangea, and this one's like the larger one, I believe, and it goes like all the way, keeps going all the way down to the bottom, like right over here. So it's pretty good. I really like it. I think it creates lots of coverage, really nice. And then back here we have different types of plants with different textures. I think that's really fun. And then one of my favorite things in the tank is this like mossy vine. And I use that same string to secure it to the mesh lid. And then we have this like nice little orchid decoration over here. So, oh yeah, and this cork like back here is nice and like rough, and it's great for shedding or hiding under. And this is the plant that my Crested Gecko Clementine really enjoyed laying her eggs in, or her dead eggs in. I used to put like moss in here, and then she would just like lay her eggs. So this is just how I would set up my Crested Gecko enclosure. You can always add more stuff. No one's living in here, so I think even if someone was living here, I'd probably add maybe something else, maybe just to make it a bit more, maybe like one of those bamboo things I see everyone have that I can never get my hands on. So yeah, this is what my 18 by 18 by 24 looks like.